Welcome back to Home Cooking Hacks, where we will teach you how to do great things in the kitchen without a lot of gizmos and gadgets. So I've had a lot of requests to make my cheese crackers, kind of like those cheese zits or something, you know? Now, I know that's kind of gross when we're talking about food, but that's okay. We won't make gross cheese crackers. So we are going to need, though, to make this, we're going to need your multi-purpose flour mix. So make sure you have some of this on hand. We're going to use a half a cup of this, and then we're going to walk through everything else you need to make some great cheese crackers. So come along. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about the equipment that we need. We, of course, need a mixing bowl to mix everything around in. And if you do not already have yours mixed together inside of half cup portions like we did at the end of the last one with the multi-purpose flour mix, you will need a half cup. I'm not going to need that because I already have mine cut out. We are going to add some water with a tablespoon measure, so make sure you have a tablespoon measure. And of course, we need to cut the cheese, so we need a little bit of a knife here, and we also need a cheese grater. We are going to use a fine cheese grater, not the coarse one, for this. You want a rolling pin to roll everything flat, and you want a pizza cutter so you can cut little squares into this, and a few trays that you can bake everything on. All right, so now what are we going to need to make our cheese crackers? Well, you need a half a cup of your multi-purpose flour mix. So with your multi-purpose flour mix, just either portion that into 1/2, or you're just going to use a 1/2 cup and measure out that amount. We're going to add a little bit more salt to the mix, and we're going to salt the top of the crackers. And of course, these are cheese crackers. We do need cheese. We're not using anything artificial. We're just doing real cheese. And then we're going to use some flour so that we can roll it down nice and flat, and we're going to add some water into here. So next we'll talk about what we actually need to do. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I've just cut out it's going to be about a quarter-ish cup or so of block cheese. We want approximately about a half, probably a little bit more than a half cup, maybe 3/4 a cup, maybe 1 cup once it's shredded. So we're just going to start by taking our multi-purpose flour mix, add that into there. And then I'm just going to sprinkle in just some extra salt. It's kind of moist. I'm not actually measuring, just a little extra like you're salting your food. And then now we're just going to shred our cheese. Okay, when I get the cheese finely shredded, there's invariably going to be some larger clumps up here. I'm actually just going to run that through the coarser just so I can, get it finely down. Then when it's down to about at least small clumps, I'm just going to go ahead and throw the rest of the big clumps in there. So now, so now we're kind of looking like that. So now we're going to mix this around. You can use a butter knife for this. I'm just going to use this one, same one I used to slice up the cheese with there. So we're just going to stir that around just a little bit. You can kind of see what that looks like. And now we're going to add some water. And throw the extra cheese that fell on the counter in there. So we're going to do 3 tablespoons of water. I generally always use purified water from cooking unless it's just something like boiling rice or beans or something. So we're going to do 3 tablespoons. This should be enough. If it's not, feel free to add more. If it's too much water, just add a touch more flour. So again, get started with the knife, and then you're going to need to get in here and play with your food. Okay, so now we're going to knead it all together, and one of the biggest things we're going to look for is make sure that all of the big cheese chunks are broken up. All right, so now after about 2 or 3 minutes or so of kneading, you're going to see it's very smooth. It should be able to roll into a nice ball quite easy. That's exactly where we want to get it to. So what we're going to do is, it's going to be too much if we roll it out all at once. So I'm actually going to roll it out in smaller chunks. So just considering the types of pans that you have, sprinkle down a little bit of flour just so that we're not sticking to anything. And I'll go ahead and just kind of start with my pizza pan. So I'm going to roll off a little chunk. And since I'm putting this onto a round pan, I'm just going to roll it round. When I put it onto the cookie sheets that are more rectangle, I'm going to do it more rectangle. kind of flipping it back and forth, just kind of working the flour base in just so that we're not sticking to the rolling pins or anything. Pro tip, if you don't have a rolling pin and you need one, get a wooden rolling pin. They're usually a little bit more expensive, but they are way worth it. I have this Teflon one here, and it's really horrible. So our objective here is we want to roll this very thin. It's going to almost seem a little too thin to you, but that's okay. We want this very, very thinly rolled. So it will actually break apart a little bit. That's perfectly okay. I'd say this is probably thinly rolled enough. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take this guy, put it on my pizza tray over here. Now we're going to roll little squares. Actually, if you start from the upper and roll towards you, you're going to get less sticking. If you go this way, then I find you oftentimes get the cheese cracker sticking to the rolling pin. So this is a whole lot better to roll towards you. Just eyeball the size of your cheese crackers that you want. You can still see there every now and again one will pop up like that one. Okay, we're going to make sure there's no double ups there. And then just salt, once again, salt the top of these guys. Now we're going to put them in the oven for 450 and slop this guy in here. They're going to cook in about 5 minutes. So now we're going to repeat that for the rest of the mix. Okay, so after about 5 minutes, you're going to start to see the Cheez-Its look like this. When you can shake the pan and most of them are free, they're going to be mostly done. Every now and again, you'll get some that'll overcook on this edge. You'll get some that maybe are not quite as cooked, quite as hard. That's okay. It'll give you a little bit of a variety and taste. If you do like them all very consistent, then you have to actually pull off the edges and slowly work in. They should easily slide off without needing much else. I do have a butter knife over here just in case. But for the most part, that's what we're going to get. Now that's 1/3 of what we made. We have 2 more pans in the oven yet to go.